Hello. In this video, we are going to add another level to our game. Now, we have been using some of these other features in the Kaboom library that are going to make this a lot easier than they would have been otherwise. So the key to this is the add level function that just takes in something in a level config and it actually does all the adding for us. And it's all based on this levels variable, which is an array of arrays. And those inside arrays are each of the levels, and they're just rows of these letters that define what our levels are supposed to look like. So if this is for level 1, I can mostly copy and paste, and that is going to give me a whole nother level. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to take these square brackets that are for our first level, copy, and paste. Now that I did that, I need to separate them with commas. But there we go. I already have my two levels. I probably want to design it a little bit differently. So let me do a couple things just to make this more obvious. Design is quite different. All right, so just changing up that level. Then the level 2 is at least designed here. Now I don't see it, so we have to figure out how to make that work. Now, why should the player even get to level 2? Well, because they went through the door on level 1. So let's adjust that code a little bit, or at least take a look at it. So when the player collided with the door, we just said go win. So instead, we'd want to go to another level. How do we do that? Um, it all comes back to this function. So we've been saying the level is the result of add level with levels brackets 0. We just edited this levels thing. So maybe this number has something to do with the level that it's loading. Let's just experiment with this. What if instead of saying 0, we said 1? You can see how that loaded us onto level 2. So levels is an array. We have these square brackets here. Arrays start counting from 0. So when it used to say levels brackets 0, that actually meant the first level. And then if I changed it to levels brackets 2, or levels brackets 1, like this, then that is the second level. Those are what are called the index numbers. So arrays always have index numbers starting at 0. So if there are 2 levels, the last index number is a 1. So if we did type 2, that should actually throw an error. And it doesn't mention things about arrays and indexes and all that. But there is no level index 2. That would be if there were 3 levels, if there was a third one. There is an index level 1. There's also an index 0, but there is no index 2. That would require there to be 3 levels. So just remember that it does start counting from 0 like that. So if I can change the level by changing this number, then swapping that out for a variable would be the solution here. So what if I had a variable just called level? Maybe level num, just to be really clear. Well, yes, I need to give it a different name because I'm already using the word level. Yeah, so let's have a variable called level num. Now that's not defined, so let's create it first. You'd want to make sure about where this is going to go. If I put it right here, that could be a problem. So make sure to make it before the scene game starts. So I'm going to say let level num equals 0. Let it equal what it used to. So that will load us back on level 1 again. But now that it's a variable, it's possible for it to be a different number. All right, and let's go back to the idea that I put this up here. When I load the game, that's really loading a level as well. So if I put let level num equals 0 inside of the game, then it would be impossible to go on any different levels. So I need to make sure that this is bigger than that, that's outside of the game itself. It's kind of comparable to the menu and the win and the lose scene, what level you ended up on. So that's why you want to do it before the function. All right, so it's when you go through the door. That's when that all should happen. So player colliding with door. Um, don't immediately go through the win. I mean, I'm going to leave it there for now. But what I definitely want to do is say level num plus plus. I want to increase the level num. Used to be 0, now it should be 1, which will put me on the second level. Now this go win doesn't disappear entirely, but it's not always going to happen. So I have an if statement. If, and what variable would help me with level num? So I know that if level num is equal to 1, so I'm on level index 1, and I've gone through the door, that's when I have 1. I'm going to use some curly braces. It's just better practice. So the go win goes inside those curly braces there. Just clean it up a little bit. Yeah, so that should work. That should get me from one level to another. Thinking. Oh, because level num is that number. Okay, so here's what I need to do. The order of this mattered. I have to decide. I mean, I should always increase. I could change this to a 2. Or I could use an else statement here. Let's just do that. All right, so I have an if. Okay, I'm on level 1, level index 1, or I'm not. Else, then what I want to do, there we go. I want to take level num and increase it. That's because I'm not at the last level. And go parens quotes game. All right, I've increased that level num, but then go game again. Reload the game scene. Just delete this line to clean up a little bit. And there I go. I'm on level 2. And then if I finish the level, 2 ogres and my not very good gaming skills might be a little tricky. Then it should get us to be winning the game. Now I don't love that I've hard coded a number here. It seems like that's all good, but we could make it slightly better. That if I keep adding levels, I don't want to come down here and having to keep change it all the time. That number is the number 1 because I have 2 levels. So the last index is a 1. So if I could just kind of magically get that number 2, then I could subtract a 1 and turn it into a 1. I could calculate what this is. So it turns out there is a way to calculate it. This comes from the whole levels array, that variable that exists there. Arrays have a dot length property, so I can say levels dot length, spelled correctly, levels dot length, and then just subtract 1, and then that will work. So levels dot length is 2, subtract 1 is 1. So if I'm on level num index 1, then that's when I'm supposed to win. So this will be very flexible as you keep adding more and more levels. This will always be accurate because this essentially tells you you're on the last level.